Apple has just concluded its keynote for its Worldwide Developers Conference, giving us some insight into the features that will be coming to the iPad, to the iPhone, to TVs, and to Apple Watches everywhere. So for today, let's get into a conversation around what's going to be coming to these platforms, as well as a new feature that sees Apple deepening its roots in the world of financial services. Hey, what up? It's your boy MobbJustice back again with another video. And for today, we're going to be talking about Apple's WWDC, that is their Worldwide Developers Conference, and the keynote that has just been concluded, talking about some of the key features and some of the things that stood out to me. As always, this video is brought to you by the team over at Lion Media. Head on over to check out some of the crispiest photo, video, and audio content. That's www.lionmedia.com. Head on over, check it out, and just see what the team can do for you. So it is developer season, and we continue to hear some of the exciting innovations that the large tech companies are bringing to their software platforms. And for this week, we're talking about Apple. If you checked out my last two videos, we covered the innovations that are coming through from the world of Google with their I/O event, as well as Microsoft with their Microsoft Build. Given that this is Apple's premier developer event for the year, we got a lot of insight into all the new features that will be coming to its major platforms, from iOS, iPadOS, WearOS, as well as macOS. And at the same time, we also got some hardware announcements as well. And as with many of these Apple events that we check out, the cinematography was just on another level, as we always note. It seems each time they're just taking it to another level. Craig Federighi was out there as a movie star in this particular edition. But because of all the announcements for today, I'm deciding to just focus on a couple of things that stood out to me. I'll put some links in the description, for summaries, or to the actual keynote if you want to check it out for yourself. Whilst most people are likely very excited about all of the new features coming to all the platforms and all the new Macs and the M2, I wanted to pay particular attention to buy now, pay later. Apple announced that they will be bringing a new service to Apple Pay, which allows people to split a purchase online into 4 equal installments within the period of about 6 weeks. And around the world, this is something that people are calling buy now, pay later. It basically allows people to buy goods, and instead of paying full purchase price, you buy goods, you pay a small amount, you receive the goods, and you can test them out, see how they are, and then pay the rest off later over a short period of time. And it's been a business model that's been growing around the world, and a space that I've been paying attention to here in South Africa. In South Africa, there are a couple of companies in the space, such as Payflex and PayJustNow, and then globally, you're talking about companies such as Klarna, and I know that PayPal has also introduced this feature into its service. Now, as I said, this is a growing business model around the world, but when you see a company as big as Apple taking it on, then that gives it a certain stamp of approval, sort of showing that even the guys at Apple see that it's got huge potential and that it's a market that they want to play in. First thing. Second thing is, I'm not too sure how they're funding this, because usually the buy now pay later providers take on the financial risk, paying the merchant for the goods up front. If you buy a pair of shoes, you pay, let's say, 25% off the first time, and then the other 75% is paid off by the service provider, and then they then collect from you as the purchaser. The merchant gets their money. So I'm waiting to see some explanations. I tried to do some digging on Apple's website, but they haven't really released that detail. And then the final piece, we've spoken about this quite a lot on the platform. This will definitely be another key piece going forward in terms of Apple and its services agenda at the moment. They are really trying to drive people to use more and more of their services. You make the software great, you make the hardware great, so that people can consume your services more and more. And over time, we do see see Apple becoming more and more of a services company as some of those hardware sales start to slow down. We now move on to the things that everyone was probably paying attention to. The first big one for me being the M2 chip. That is the second generation of Apple's computer chips. Now, exactly 2 years ago, we got the first round. Now, when they announced they'd be moving from Intel over to their own microchips for computers. So now they've released what's called the M2, and we're going to be waiting to see how that naming convention develops. Are we going to see an M2 and then an M2 Pro, M2 Max, and then an M2 Ultra, as we've seen with the M1, or are they going to have something different? We're also anticipating that this will be the chip that will likely then go a version of it, at least, into the Mac Pro, which is their tower PC. And then some of the key statistics that they gave us is that it's going to be 18% faster on the CPU side compared to the M1, and then 35% faster on the GPU side. So really powerful set of chips, and just continuing to show flames in the industry. And when you now have a new set of chips, they need something to run on, and that's where Apple came in with an announcement of the new MacBook Air, which is a really sexy machine, if I'm going to be honest. I'm personally not the target market when it comes to the MacBook Air. I'm more of a MacBook Pro type of person, but even I am sitting there and saying this is a great device. It's great looking and the specs are quite on point. We saw the return of MagSafe, as we saw on the latest generation of MacBook Pros. It's featuring 2 USB slots, and then we've got that horrible notch design. At least it's not that bad on the side of the Macs, but it is there. And then at the same time, they're featuring the new machine in 4 different colors. I really like the matte black color that they showed off and the keynote. The new design results in a thinner and lighter machine, which is built in line with the latest versions of the MacBook Pro line. Now you see the feet on the bottom, you see the notch, all of that, but somehow they have been able to also cram up to 24 gigs of unified memory or RAM, inside a machine like that, which I think in testing is going to be really great. So those are the big 3 things that stood out to me. But outside of that, Apple also got into a lot of detail around iOS 16. That is their latest software, for the iPhone, and lots of features coming there. They showed off a new lock screen design. Anyone who's used an iPhone over the last couple of years will know that the lock screen has sort of stayed standard in terms of design for a number of years. So really keen to see how that is going to go, especially the personalization that really seemed to be the main theme that they were driving with this keynote. And then on messages, we got 2 big features that stood out to me. First one is the ability to unsend messages, and then the second one is the ability to edit a message after it's been sent. I think a lot of people have been looking for a feature like that. You send a message and then you realize you didn't mean to say it like that, or maybe you misspelled something. That ability to go back and correct after the fact, really great. Perhaps the feature that stood out the most to me when it came to iOS is Carplay. That is Apple's extended integration into vehicles. A lot of cars now come with that ability. You connect your phone and then you get an iOS type of interface in the infotainment display. But what was different now is that the next generation of CarPlay looks like it's going to take over the whole vehicle entertainment. Usually it takes over, a lot of cars now come with 2 or 3 screens. It takes over a section of the main screen. But now it looks like it's going to take over the whole thing, and it looked like it's going to be quite impressive. It looks like Apple really wants to take over the car, because their new system will communicate directly with the car's computer system, giving the ability to actually change some of the actual car system controls, such as heat, such as cooling, things that have for now been specifically, up to the manufacturer. So really keen to see how that goes. In taking over that whole system, it looks great. But whilst we're talking about CarPlay, there is a thought, that could be spared, because Apple has been rumored for a couple of years now to be working on an Apple car of some sort. So perhaps Perhaps this could actually be an early sneak peek into what the infotainment for such an Apple car would look like. Moving on to macOS, for all the Mac lovers out there, Apple announced its latest version of macOS. They're calling it Ventura, and the thing that stood out for me, and I suspect many people around the world because of all the chatter that I saw online, is what they're calling continuity camera. And basically what that means is for some of their devices such as your Macs, your MacBooks, you can now use the cameras that come on your iPhone, directly in contact with your Mac, and use that instead of the inbuilt camera so that you can get the best quality possible. So for example, if you have one of the Pro Max phones with the 3 on the back, you just go there, put it on the top. They've got some new clips, and then it will now use the camera wirelessly to actually feed into your Zoom call, your FaceTime call, that type of thing. What I'm interested to see is how the latency is going to be, because what they're showing off, takes a lot of computing power. Because for example, they have a feature that allows you to have one of the cameras on the back focusing on you, and then the other camera, the wide one, focusing on something at the bottom, which I think if they can pull that off in actual practicality, that would really be cool. They also showed off something called Stage Manager. This is basically a cross between the taskbar view of apps that we see on Windows, as well as some of the app pairs that we've seen the likes of Samsung implementing on Android. And that creates these app groups that show up in Mac OS. And it really looks cool in terms of, if you have a lot of windows that are open, a lot of the time, you have your mission control, shows you everything, but now they're allowing you to group these things just for better workflow. Stage Manager is also being made available over on the iPad, and I think it's going to help to unlock a lot of power on that platform. I've said it in the back that with all the computing power that iPads have, they're held back by the software platform. But a feature like Stage Manager, as well as the extended and full support for external displays that they showed off, together with full Windows support that allows you to resize windows, have them floating one on top of the other, and more controls in terms of the file manager. I think all of those different pieces are going to unlock a lot of power for the iPad for users around the world. So that's been it for this video. I think it's a great set of updates over from the guys in Cupertino. Quite excited to see how that buy now pay later business model is going to develop over time, and whether or not it's going to be one of those things that drives more people to use things like Apple Pay, and how it's going to affect the rest of the buy now pay later industry now that Apple has endorsed it by actually coming into the market. And then just very keen to get my hands on the latest MacBook Air, keen to see how thin that device actually is, because this time they've departed from that wedge design, which has become a signature of the line. So really keen to see how it actually looks like in real life. So that's been it. You can let me know what you think. Are you excited for any of these updates? Do you think it was enough? Do you think it was too little? Or do you think that Apple has exceeded all expectations and now we wait for execution? You can let me know what you think, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.
Hey, this is Baby G, and you're watching the MobbJustice channel. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Live it, love it, like it. This is the MobbJustice TV.